So I can't tell if our defense is just really good or if the Ravens are just so injury prone that they're just bad now? I guess, I don't know. Welcome to Steel Nation.
Here we go, Steelers, here we go. Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Steel Nation, the officially unofficial Pittsburgh Steelers fan channel. I'm your host, Brian, and I don't know what I just watched or, like, what is going on. So if, I don't know. Sunday's game, the Pittsburgh Steelers took on the Baltimore Ravens, and we should have got our butts just caved in by the Ravens. Like, it should not have been a competition. They have looked really good this season, and though, yes, they are riddled with injuries, they look better than we have the past couple weeks. Like, we lost to the Texans, and we barely beat the Browns and the Raiders thanks to flukes and our defense. So the fact that once again we beat the Ravens thanks to our defense is kind of alarming for a number of reasons and for a number of people, starting, of course, with the man who should have his job on the line, Matt Canada. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the game, during the one and only touchdown run that we had in this game, if you were watching the broadcast as I was, you will have seen Matt Canada looking confused. And that is like a big red flag, I guess, because on a play like that, it was a deep ball to George Pickens, who catches it and runs it for a touchdown. The fans are going bananas. Once they pan up to the box, all of the Steelers, like the defensive coordinator, all of the personnel in the Steelers box were going bananas, except for Matt Canada, who just looked confused, as if that wasn't the play that he wanted them to run. And that right there is very notable, because even as an offensive coordinator, players have the ability and the right to audible plays. So if Kenny Pickett audibled the play and it went in and scored, sure, Matt Canada could have seen that and been like, oh, that's not the play I called, but he should have still been excited. So why then was he confused? Was it maybe because he's trying to make us lose? Maybe he was paid off by another team to be a bad offensive coordinator for us. Maybe he doesn't want us to win. I don't know. But that whole thing, that whole situation, it just fuels the fire that I have that something deeper is going on. Because in any other organization with this much fan backlash, and these many bad games for an organization that has been historically good, people would have been fired a long time ago. And Mike Tomlin is also now on the hot seat, especially in the Facebook groups, because he's not doing anything about it. And the GM isn't doing anything about it. Omar, he's supposed to have been a really good GM. He was making a lot of what at the time seemed to be really good personnel signings and hirings, but he refuses to get rid of Canada. And now I saw a Facebook post earlier that was put out in a Steelers fan group, and I wanted to cover it because it really struck me because I've been thinking the same things. It was a couple different reasons why Canada is still with the team. The first option they gave is that he's under contract and cannot be fired until his contract is up. And if that's the case, why won't Tomlin tell us that he is under contract and tell us how long his contract is? Because, like, the argument would be if Tomlin says that, it's going to undermine what Canada does as the offensive coordinator. But to that argument, I say that's probably a good thing. Because so far, Matt Canada has been the laughing stock of the offensive coordinators in the league. We have one of the worst offenses in the league, and it has nothing to do with the ability of our players in a lot of cases, because Jaylen Warren, which we'll get to in a minute, was really good this game. His fantasy numbers don't show it because he was barely given the ball. Najee is not looking as good. Pickens is looking really good. There are some occasions where he's not. But then if you look on the defensive side of the ball, our defense is really good. So that's one reason that Canada might be around. The second is that maybe he has dirt on somebody. This is the one that I always use because it just really seems likely that he has information on somebody within the Steelers organization, whether it's the Rooneys, whether it's Mike Tomlin, Omar, whether it's somebody higher up, or one of the sponsors even, maybe Acrisure, maybe Heinz. He's got dirt on somebody. And now these are all just theories. None of these are accusations, but it's just, it all feeds together. And the third thought is that Tomlin and Omar are actually incompetent as coaches and GMs when it comes to hiring other coaches and personnel like that, which I don't know. Like, everybody seems to be jumping on the Mike Tomlin hate train, but I don't agree with that. Now, if the season continues, and if we do eventually fire Matt Canada and bring in a new offensive coordinator, and nothing changes, then I might start shifting my tune to Mike Tomlin a bit. But for right now, I really think that the issue is Canada and not Tomlin. Now, of course, I could be wrong, but that's all I'm going to say on the Canada topic. Aside from we're going into the bye week, if there's any time to fire your offensive coordinator, it would be now. Because you've got that extra week to bring somebody in and teach him the playbook, have him mesh with the team a little bit. I don't see that happening at this point. Just based on how the Steelers do things, I don't see them firing Canada, unfortunately. But let's get into the actual game, because this is a game that can be best summed up by the word oops. Specifically, oops for the Ravens, because this is a game they should have easily won. Like, we are not a good team. They should have sailed to victory, and yet they stalled out after the first quarter. Like, within the first quarter, they scored a touchdown and then a field goal. They got 10 points, and they just didn't score the rest of the game. And now that's not for lack of trying. It didn't look like it from where I was watching on TV. Because, and this is where I think our defense comes into play, our defense looked phenomenal. To start off with, a safety in the modern era of the NFL, and the fact that it's happened at least twice this season and twice this week is stupidly insane. Like, the fact that not only was it a safety, but it was a safety off of a blocked punt. Let me say that again. A safety off of a blocked punt. That doesn't just happen. Like, you don't just go out there and block a punt because you want to block a punt. No, that takes a mix of speed and a lack of speed on both teams, speed on the defense, a lack of speed on the punter, as well as bad yard position for the defense, and for the offense, and a really bad possession for said offense. Now, I'm not sure how it happened. I'm pretty sure it had to have been a 3-and-out situation for the Ravens. But the fact we were able to manage a 3-and-out situation, then block a punt, and then get a safety off of it is wild. What would have been more wild, though, is if that block punt led to a touchdown, especially in the manner that it almost did, because if that defender had just got his toes down, if he just toe-tapped it in, that would have been a blocked punt touchdown reception, which would have brought the score from 5 with the safety to 10 with the touchdown, which is stupid, but we did end up getting a touchdown, the aforementioned George Pickens touchdown that completely befuddled Matt Canada. At least it's something. And then we also got a couple of field goals. Chris Boswell had a really good fantasy day, which is nice to see after the first couple of weeks where he got like 1 or 0 points. And it's better than missing something and getting -2 like somebody else in my league got, I think, last week in my fantasy league. Other than that, I want to touch on Jaylen Warren once again. He just had a phenomenal game. It wasn't phenomenal, but there was one drive where he clicked and he was going. He was spinning out of defenders. He leapt over a guy, spun out of a defender's path before he was brought down. But Jaylen Warren is slowly but surely showing why he needs to be RB1 on our team and not RB2 behind Najee Harris. And as much as I love Najee Harris and as much as I think that he is a good running back, in the current offense and with the current offensive line that we have, Najee is just not able to get anything done. Like the past couple of years with this offensive line, he's just been spinning his wheels. And Warren has been the main getter of most of our yards. And so, and it's getting to a point now where I think defenses are realizing this, and that every time 30 is on the field, they line up in a run block formation, though that doesn't always work for them because Jaylen Warren is just that good. But for Najee Harris, he didn't look very good on Sunday. And the same I can say goes for Kenny Pickett. Now, yes, he did make some very good plays, and he's looking better than he did last week. And this is probably the most confident he's looked in the pocket, but that's not saying much because this entire season he's just looked uncomfortable in the pocket. He has not been able to make passes, which is a complete heel turn from last season. And I really want to know why that is. Is he, like us, upset with Matt Canada's play calling? Is something else going on? I want to know what's going on inside of Kenny Pickett's head on each of these plays, because he's dropping dimes to Kenny Pickett, to George Pickens, one play, and then the next play he's overshooting Allen Robinson II by 20 yards. And it's very inconsistent. It's very out of character. And it might be because our offensive line is worse than it was last year, because once again, our offensive line looks like Swiss cheese, but it also could be because Kenny Pickett just got worse. And I don't like saying that for a second year, but there's a possibility that he's just not as good as we think he was supposed to be. He might not actually be the future of the team. Now, I'm not saying that because I believe it, because for the little sparks of really good I've seen out of him have been just that, really good. But the majority of his time this season has been spent not playing well and being outgunned by the other offense and outmatched by the defense. And that's not how you win football games. Now, obviously, our defense has been pulling their weight and winning us football games. We're currently 3-2 in the top of our division right now. But that's because this game was, in all uncertain terms, a fluke. The Browns game just came down to pure defensive manpower. The Raiders game came down to the fact that Josh McDaniels does not know how to count. And then the 49ers crushed us, obviously. I mean, they did just crush the Cowboys. And then the Texans are just better than we thought they were going to be. So we're sitting here at the top of our division on accident, basically. It also helps that the Bengals have been really sucky. And the thing that I think hurts the most this week, aside from how bad our offense looked, is the fact that the Bengals went up against the Cardinals, and the Cardinals beat the Cowboys. And so I'm sitting here thinking, when I'm doing my pick'ems for the week, oh, the Cardinals have a good shot of beating the Bengals, because the Bengals have looked awful. And of course, the Bengals looked good again. What is it? This whole week has been awful for my pick'ems. I think I've lost most of the games this week in terms of selecting the team that's going to win, because this week has been stupid. I selected the Commanders to beat the Bears because it's the Bears. I did not expect them to come out of this week with a win. They came out of it with a commanding win. The Steelers and the Ravens, I didn't pick right. The Bengals and the Cardinals, I didn't pick that right. This whole week has been weird, and I don't like it, and I want it to stop. Luckily for my own sake, next week we are on a bye, which might not be great because I don't have anything going on next weekend, so I could make the video for next weekend, earlier than today, because today is Monday night, thanks to busyness. But of course, the 1 week that I'm not busy, we're on a bye week, which makes about as much sense as it possibly could. That being said, though, there will still be a video that comes out next weekend, just going over anything that happens during the bye week, if we get any trades, if we, God willing, fire Matt Canada and bring in an offensive coordinator who is competent, and who else knows? Maybe Deontay Johnson will be back. Pat Freiermuth, I didn't realize that he is out now, which sucks because he was a good tight end, but it gave Darnell Washington some play time, and while I don't think he actually got any receptions, or if he did, I didn't notice it. It looked like he did a good job opening up the passing game, the run game, but who knows? We'll have to see. If Pat Freiermuth is out again next week, or in 2 weeks, I'll definitely have to be watching Darnell Washington a lot closer, just to make sure that, not to make sure, but just to see how he plays. And then on that, obviously, Calvin Austin III didn't get any receptions this week. Allen Robinson II got a couple. George Pickens, massive day for George Pickens. He got like 25 fantasy points or something like that, which is really good. Aside from that, though, there's really nothing special about this game aside from the fact that our defense looked amazing. Like, TJ Watt looked incredible, but he always looks incredible. It's basically like a law of nature at this point. The earth rotates around the sun. Lava is hot. TJ Watt is an incredible edge rusher. They're just the rules of nature at this point. But yeah, in 2 weeks we face off against the Rams. Ooh, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt really badly. Then we face off the next week against the Jaguars, which I think there's a good possibility we lose both those games. Then the Titans. The Titans are like a very weird team. Then the Packers. Oh gosh. Then the Browns and the Bengals. Okay, so the next 6-game streak looks really, really rough, especially for a Steelers team that's been playing like ours has. And we're playing in Los Angeles in 2 weeks, so they have the home field advantage. Though, when it comes to Los Angeles, the only advantage they're going to have is that it's the same fields that they practice on, because if you've seen Rams games the past couple years, nobody goes to them. And Steelers fans come out in droves. Like, anywhere the Steelers are playing, and even some places that we're not playing, you'll see terrible towels. And these days, the new terrible towels, the Fire Matt Canada signs, which, you know what? How about this? I challenge each and every one of you to get a yellow dishcloth, okay? And instead of writing terrible towel on it, I want you to write Fire Canada and spin that around in the games. Just get everybody spinning Fire Canada towels. Make that a new model for the terrible towel. And then maybe that will get the organization's attention and finally fire this dude. Because I don't think my soul can take much more of this offense. It's just atrocious. And the only time that we got a touchdown in the past two games is the one time that Canada didn't call a play. At least it's how it seems, just based on his facial expressions, which it's just priceless, you know? It is. I love this team. I love what I do. And I hope to do this for a long time, talk about the Steelers. I hope we get good. I will say that. I hope we get really good. I want to see a 7th Super Bowl trophy come back to Pittsburgh. And I would love to be covering the games when that happens. Like this season onward. I would love to be able to say, come on the video screen and say, hey, guess what? 6burg is now 7sburg. But that's probably not going to happen this year. And if big changes don't happen, it might not happen in the next 5 to 10 years. There's just too many good teams, and you can't afford, in this day and age, to just be bad, because there are a ton of teams that are going to have 10, 11, 12 wins on the season, because that's just how football is nowadays. You got your really good teams and your really bad teams, and then there's only a few people in the middle, because they're very big halves. And the very good teams are going to win a lot of games, and the very bad teams are not going to win many games. And right now, we are leaning closer to the bottom portion of the graph, because the only reason we've won these games is, as I keep saying, because of accidents. It's all on accident, but at the end of the day, that's how football is. It's a week-to-week sport, and you never know what's going to happen from week to week. With that all being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below with any of your thoughts on today's game, whether you think it's Canada's fault, whether you think it's Tomlin's fault, or Pickett's fault, or Pickens' fault, or heck, maybe it's the Rooney's fault. I don't know. Maybe it's the fault of the dude down the road screaming at pigeons with his shirt in his hands. Maybe it's your mom's fault. I don't know. Let me know whose fault you think it is in the comments. And if you enjoy the type of content and you want to see more of what I do, then hit that subscribe button. As always, I've been Brian, and go Steelers.